Yeah, Mike's rants from non-glamorous places in the house about consumer product design. This one isn't about clarity or communication or options. It's just about the basic function being dangerous and difficult, which are two extremely bad words for consumer products. Look at this blessed loft ladder. I'm trying to get the thing up. And I've met this time and time again. I remember my grandmother had a loft ladder like this, and other places I've been to visit. Every single time, you're sweating. I'm sweating trying to move the thing. It's really hard to move. It's incredibly dangerous. I'd be amazed if there isn't a statistical tracking of how many people trap their fingers or break fingers or go to hospital with head wounds from loft ladders. I imagine it's hundreds or even thousands a year just in the UK. Because I'm not a statistician on this, I could look it up, but it's not rocket science to tell that that's going to be a problem, is it? Because look at the thing. I mean, first of all, what do? There are no arrows on it. There's no instructions. This one's sort of clear-ish, but I mean, it doesn't say 1 and an arrow, 2 and an arrow, 3 and an arrow. So which order you do things in could be made clear just on the actual product itself, right? Without, again, having to use an instruction manual. Secondly, if things need to slide past each other, make sure they slide. So this, for example, I'm not particularly strong, but I'm not particularly weak. I can move that. This was owned by an 84-year-old lady before she sold this to us. I imagine she never went up in her loft or got her grandson to help her or something. It's ridiculously bad design. It's very, very, very common, and it's an incredibly common product. There must be millions and millions of loft ladders in the UK alone. And their design is generally dangerous, unclear, and really physically hard to use as well as mentally. What the hell do I do? So there is a product area right now ready for anyone to take and make it better. Now, I'm sure it's not easy to create a design that solves the problem. Just like any good product design isn't easy, and that's a problem for a product designer, not a marketer necessarily or an entrepreneur. But I guess what? If you can crack that, you would make hundreds of millions, in my opinion, if you really took off and were successful. Because the existing solution is so really not only terrible, but dangerous. Obviously, clearly dangerous, and obviously and clearly terrible. So if you can find something like that out there and solve it, now that's not an easy one. It might take you several years of development, but that's actually adding value to humanity. That's how you're going to get rich, in my opinion, one of the ways you could get rich. And the other one is look at your own product and just review. Are there any ways in which it could be used that could be dangerous? If you're selling electronics, does the battery get so hot that it could set fire to things? You definitely don't want that happening. But you've got lithium batteries, that's always a concern. Does it get punctured or stepped on? Could that set fire? So I say that because I've sold products with batteries in. If you're selling somebody like, we actually used to sell, and I shudder to think of it now, razors for wet shaving. I mean, probably best avoided, but how can you make it as safe as possible so that your product doesn't injure anyone? And then how do you make it as idiot-proof to use as possible? Again, that old theme that we keep coming back to. If you do the hard work of that, which might take you years and a lot of money, then you have created something of great value. And that is where I think, instead of fussing about your images and trying to milk money out of something mediocre and worry about the competition because your product has no real difference to anything else, do the hard work to make something that is genuinely great. I'm not a product designer, so it wouldn't be me doing it, but I'm good at articulating consumer problems, as you can hear. And so your brief might be just to go to you're going to have to get into detail, but you might start with a very simple idea. Can you make something that's easy to use and doesn't break anyone's fingers? About to think of another couple of examples of people solving these things, but I mean, they're all over the shop, really. Ladders are another interesting one, aren't they? They're very, very common and pretty famously dangerous. Lots of people fall off ladders every year. Could you make a safer version of a ladder, perhaps? When you think about consumer life, there are so many things that we use every day that are absolutely standard, and they're standard for a reason because they're simple to make and somewhat standard to use, but that are really dangerous or just really dysfunctional. And so a truly imaginative product designer can actually make something better. And you aren't going to get that for cheap. You're going to have to spend some money and effort on it. So guess what? I think that is actually the thing that you should have. A differentiated product that's different because it is genuinely better than the alternatives. And as I say, I'm not a product designer. I don't even like products themselves that much because you've got to move them around the world and all that stuff. But I really do care about solving consumer problems and communicating about that, and therefore you've got to find yourself a fantastic designer if that's not you. You may be a designer who is good at making solutions and then you're not good at articulating that. Well, you need to find yourself a marketer. Those are more common. In the Amazon space, they're common as muck, frankly. The good ones, not so much. They need to know what they're doing. Really great advertising agencies are not common, but basic marketing on Amazon is a commodity at this stage. Absolutely. So I still believe that the product differentiation, the hard bit, is where you build the long-term brand value. There you go. I think consumer products based brands should have different and really great products. What a radical concept. Thanks for listening to another rant. Speak to you soon.